Hi there, glad to be there. Yes, so my name is Hervé Berenger. I am an iOS engineer at Faber-Novel. And today I would like to share with you some thoughts, some ideas that we had concerning machine learning and the way we can integrate them inside our mobile applications. So everything starts with this figure. You see at Faber-Novel, during the last 3 years, we have shipped about 43 applications. And they were good applications with a lot of diversity. Some have been downloaded millions of times. Yet none of them, absolutely none of them, contain any feature which we could seriously call AI. So it's annoying, yes, because machine learning, we see it all over the place, except in our applications. And this reminded me of some situation we had 3 years ago. So these are the basic people involved in the crafting of a mobile application. And what do they want? They want animations, right? And the problem we had is that our applications were dull. They lacked any application. So we had to change the way we work, make people speak with each other, share some common language, give them the right tools, such as Lottie or difference kit for animations. And then, over the years, it improved, right? And now, it's the same thing all over again, because we have a new kid in town, the data scientist, ladies and gentlemen. And what do we want? We want machine learning, right? But it does not happen. So, why that? Well, one of the reasons, maybe, is this picture. You have already seen it if you started learning CoreML, for example. It's an image classifier. It's a very basic image classifier, a dog-cat classifier. And now, it's very easy to do, so everybody starts with this. But the problem is that it brings a very AI-centric view of what machine learning can do. And they are cool, but when we are back to Xcode, to our banking application, for example, well, we don't know what to do with a dog-cat classifier, right? So to work around this issue, I think we should inverse this logic and remove AI from the center of our applications and send it to the fringes, right? In other words, we should make AI boring. And by boring, what I mean is totally unspectacular. This was an example displayed this year at DubDub, and you see Apple is dynamically adjusting the size of the keyboard hit zone, right? Nobody notices it. It's totally unspectacular, but it's totally useful. So that's for boring. But what's AI? Well, it's also useful to think of what AI is, a tough question. I like this quote by Paul Jorion, who says that basically AI does not exist because what we call AI often is a work in progress, some more or less utopian representation of what a machine can do. And once an AI technique is production ready, it enters inside applications. We say it's digital. It becomes commonplace. And as front-end developers, I firmly believe that our job is to make those AI features enter inside our apps, to make them commonplace. So this is why today, what I would like to show you is that several use cases that we can be handled by AI, and that many tools are available, many are underused, and that, yeah, maybe you don't have to be a seasoned data scientist to start to make AI enter your apps. And oh, you again. What do you want? Oh, yeah. I guess you mean some voice interface. Well, in the next talk, Ellen will enter in more details in voice interfaces, but for now, what I would like to do is just to consider how magical those APIs are. Now we have a speech synthesizer. It takes only 3 lines of code to have text-to-speech. And while years ago, it was totally science fiction. On the other way, we have the speech recognizer. It's a bit more tedious, but it takes like 20, 30 lines of code. And now, new this year, we can even run them on device, meaning even sensitive information can be treated that way. At some point, you may want to integrate with Siri. Okay, it's a bit tough. Siri is a little world in itself, but you have great helpers, such as this button. Do you know this button? It's the Add to Siri button. It's built in. And it lets you associate any utterance with not even an intent. You don't have to deal with intent, but with a good old NS user activity. And this is cool. It's very simple. So that with a little of state restoration logic, you can implement voice commands. So if think about it, if any hobbyist can craft some voice commands on a gloomy Sunday afternoon, well, we should really start to consider to put voice interfaces into our apps. It becomes urgent. Oh, you're back. What do you want now? You want to understand everyone? Yeah, sure. For years, we have been striving for localization because our apps are successful. We want everybody to be able to interact with them. Yet, for dynamic user-generated content, we don't see translation very often. For example, even in great applications such as YouTube, you can see here the title is in Russian, the channel is in Russian, the description is in Russian, everything in Russian. And I don't know if I can show this cartoon to my little daughter. So at some point, if you want translation, you will have to use some translation API, and it comes at a cost. On this, I tried to estimate the cost of major translation providers, and you see it's about the same, right? There is only a factor of 2 between the cheapest and the most expensive. And the price here is a number of dollars you pay per month for some million of characters that you translate. And it's not very clear what 2 million characters are, so I try to bring some sense to those figures by adding some famous novels on the slide. Here you can see, for example, you have War and Peace by Tolstoy, which is about 3 million characters long, and you can buy a hardcover copy of it on Amazon for about $45. And what's interesting is that those novel trends follow about the same price rule, the price progression, as translation API. So what does it mean? It means that translation is very expensive because the cost of translating some amount of text is the same as the price of getting a hardcover print copy of it. So if you want to use some translation API, you will want to reduce the amount of API calls you make. And for this, you can use this nice language recognizer, available since iOS 12. It will help you to shorten the list of available language for which you want to enable translation feature. Oh no, we can make it boring, right? We can, here you are, we are in a chat room with some friends discussing about issues caused by some dragons flying over Winterfell, and as it happens very often, while some queen of dragons switches to High Valyrian. And it's a mess, you don't know how to follow up. But thanks to the previous code, you have added this nice translation button here. Oh yeah, satisfying, right? Nice animation. Let's see it again, I'm proud of it. Yeah, good. And you know what? It took me hours to do this. Yeah, because it's tough. There are 3 different asynchronous tasks. You have the API call, you have your animation, you have the size of the UI table view cell, which adjusts to the amount of text, and all of them you want to coordinate in the most elegant manner. So it is hard, but it is good because it is what we do as front-end engineers. We are not data scientists. We cannot beat Google at translating stuff, but we can animate table views like no one. Oh, what now? You want the door code? Yeah, sure. Everybody wants the door code. You are invited by some friends. There is a party. You are in front of the building. And you don't have the door code, so you are scrolling like mad in your message thread to find the door code. And it would be clearly simpler if you could just ask your smartphone, hey, just give me Julian's door code. So to do so, we have to enter the field of natural language processing. And good news, there have been a lot of advances this year in iOS 13. Apple showcased several new Core ML models, one of them being the Bird Squad. What is it? It's a model which answers questions expressed in natural language about a given text. And you see, it's only 1 year old, right? Less than 1 year old, birthday in 3 days. And how does it work? It stands for bidirectional encoder representation from transformers. And if we have some time, when you can have a look, everything starts at the bottom left-hand corner with this multi-head attention module. And Come on, we are front-end engineers, right? This is how it works. You take a document, you take a question, and it gives you a list of NS ranges pointing at where the answer of your question is in the original text. And there is this sample application on Apple website, and I really encourage you to run it because it works very well. I tried to trick it with Marcel Proust. You know, Marcel Proust is known for having written maybe the most complicated sentences in French. No, it's in English. And this is the beginning of Swan's Way. You probably know it. It says, for a long time, I used to go to bed early. So precisely, tell me, Marcel, what time are you going to bed? Early. Great. Okay. And what are you dreaming of? He's dreaming of what he had just been reading. Correct. And little Marcel is reading stories about history, about the rivalry between François I and Charles V. So tell me, who was François I's nemesis? And it finds Charles V, right? So it's not the same word. I use nemesis instead of rivalry, but he found it. There was some really semantic comprehension of what I said. So you may come up with exciting ideas of what you could do with this. If you had an idea, it has to be really good, because this model is about 220 megabytes. And as a reminder, the whole Facebook application is 250 megabytes. Another issue is that it can handle only 400 input tokens. It's about one full page of iPhone of text, and also available only in English. And oh, you're back. What now? You want to start hurting people's feelings. You know, it happens all the time. You use one word instead of another, and the drama happens, like in code reviews, for example. So this may be avoided thanks to what we call sentiment analysis. And to do some sentiment analysis, you have to become a friend of the natural language tagger. It's a general-purpose tool that can treat a lot of natural language processing tasks, from the most concrete tokenization to the most abstract. And new this year, we added sentiment analysis to it. And to use it, you just have to pick the right tag scheme, right? When you create your tagger, set the right tag scheme, pass the string you want to evaluate, convert some tag to a string, and then you have your value. -1 being some negative feeling, and +1 being a very positive feeling. And it's available in 7 languages. So let's try to make it boring again. So we're back to our application. And what we can think of is to create some kind of emotional nudge by changing the background color of the input text depending on what the user is typing, right? And here he says that, yeah, you don't have to filthy dragons, it's a bit rude, so the color is red. So thanks to this nudge, you can reconsider and find a most favorable expression. And with a smiley, you get bonus points. And you see the background color is glitching, it switches very quickly. This is due to the fact that there are, in fact, it's not a continuous value. We have only 11 different values. So you may consider only extreme values or add some low-pass filters. Oh, no, you. What this time? Oh, you want Microsoft Word 97. Are you insane? No, you're not, because Microsoft Word 97 has this great feature called a thesaurus, a dictionary of synonyms. And it let me make people believe that I had some vocabulary, which obviously I have not. It could be a definition of what artificial intelligence is. So, can you create a dictionary of synonyms with on iOS? Well, for this, well, it's a bit tricky, but we can start with this new class from iOS 13 called a natural language embedding. What is this? It's an old idea from the 60s, which has been popularized about 6 years ago by the word-to-vec algorithm. And this idea is that words having similar meanings are likely to appear in similar context. So if you crunch enough text, you will be able to build a vector representation of any dictionary. It's a kind of word cloud in which words having the higher similarity will be very close geometrically. And word embeddings have strange properties, like algebraic properties. If you start from king at the difference between woman and man, you will find a point which is not very far from queen. Works also for grammatical or geographical relations. This allows analogical reasoning. You can find them. There are 7 built-in word embeddings. You can also compile them offline or even on device. So what does a word embedding look like? It's a good exercise to start to play with natural language embeddings. What you can do is, for example, take a word like justice, then ask for the neighbors of justice in this word cloud, then the neighbors of the neighbors, then you ask for the vector coordinates of the synonyms. This will give you a list of vectors living in a space having dimension 300. So it's a bit tricky to visualize things in dimension 300. So you apply some dimension reduction, and there are great tools for this. And now, this is what it gives, right? But it does not start, so it's a bit sad. Ah, yes, right. This is a visual representation of what justice is. And you see there are like 3 different branches. One contains vocabulary related to lawmaking, republic, legislative. Another one, the words related to lawyers, lawmakers, prosecutors. And the last one, words related to the idea of justice, equity, and morality. So why I am showing you this to you? Well, because first it's beautiful. And second, I want to insist on the fact that words in an embedding are not really synonyms, right? Sometimes you get very close words, sometimes not. For example, if you ask for the closest neighbor of Photoshop, you get GIMP and retouching, fine. For pasta, risotto, and fettuccine, for home building or an apartment, good. But sometimes if you have words like left, for which you get uppercut, right? Maybe there were too many boxing articles in the training set. And for Android, you get a handset. Yeah, this is what an Android looks like in this word cloud. You also have issues with homonyms like date. Is it living out with someone or an instant in time? Or in this case, it will give you exact, which is a bit poor. And sometimes we even get opposite, and you are to the edge of the bad buzz. Like with capitalism, you have socialism. And the closest word to cop is a thug. Right? And my favorite is the closest word to politician. It's a populist. So now you get the idea. We take a word, put it in an embedding, extract synonyms. To do so, we have to add some spell checking in front of it, because if you don't have the exact word, we will find no neighbor. And after, you want to add a lexical filter, because the synonym of an adjective is often an adjective. Spell checking, available since iOS 3.2. Also a very good example of what boring AI is, very easy. And for the lexical filter, the only thing you have to care about is the fact that a word like light can be a noun or an adjective or a verb, so you have to put it back in the original context, like this, so that you can find the right lexical tag. And the rest is just basic string manipulation and tagger invocation. Now we have every element. Okay, so what shall we do? We make it boring. So we are back to our application. And in this case, the emotional nudge underlines the fact that unacceptable is a bit strong when you reply to a mother of dragons. So you can integrate with the UI menu controller, which is a total mess. This class is a mess. It's a singleton, right? And you have to be a master of the responder chain to use it. You have to use temporary flags. But again, this is what we do. Yes. You find unwise is better, and the emotional nudge agrees with this. And this property of giving words which can be synonym but not that much, who are loosely related, we call it serendipity. Right? It gives you the ability to discover things by chance, and there is one place where it can be very useful. It is in search bars. Right? What is more depressing than this empty result search bar? Right? So thanks to embeddings, you see the thing. You can easily, when you run a search query, run other search queries in parallel at the same time for neighbors of the query. this way, you can always display alternate search terms. And I'm pretty convinced that search bars in the very soon future will look like this. And if you want to give a try to machine learning, search bars are a very good place to start with. Oh, you're back. What now? Yes, you want to reply faster because choosing the right synonym takes some time, right? And you want to reply confidentially. Okay, because there are some contexts where you want to be able to tell your friend Juliet at Capulet.it that you just love her, right? This is called smart reply, we know them. And good news, there is a library which does this. It's integrated in Firebase. You just have to use the pod, put your API key, and it works. It's very well packaged. You just build an array of text messages, ask the library to give you possible replies, and well, it works. Right, fine. It works, but how does it work? It's important in some cases to understand very well what your library does. For example, if you treat sensitive information, you may not be very eager to send them to a Firebase server. So we have to look under the hood. And in this case, it was not very difficult. There is a big file in the library called Hobbes.tflight. And it's the suffix of TensorFlow files. And you can open it with an editor, like Netrun. And you see what TensorFlow is. It's just a graph of alphanumeric operators. And if you zoom out, oh my God, it is big, it is huge. This is a Leviathan, right? And some nodes inside are totally insane, like this one, which has more than 1 million numeric values, right? And sometimes, if you wander inside this graph, you made some interesting findings. Like here, for example, where, oh, whitelist, what could it be? Oh my God, that's the list of every possible smart reply. Right? Oh, you can play with that a little. And yeah, so it's, as they say, that's cool, babe. And speaking of cool, it was funny to realize that there are about 98 shades of cool in this list. So I put them, all of them in this slide to make what is possibly the coolest slide ever. It's so a bit ridiculous, right, to spend so much brain and computing power just to make a difference between oh cool and yeah cool. Yeah. There was another file in the library called sensitive model something. So if you don't want people to open your files, do not name them sensitive, right? It's a really bad idea. Because then they will want to discover that, in fact, it's a protocol buffer format. They will guess the protocol buffer model, and they will be open to open it. And suddenly, oh my God! This file is a flat file containing a list of 6,000 expressions of the most offensive, insulting, racist, pornographic vocabulary that you could ever imagine, right? And even some that you don't imagine. So it's the door to hell. You do not want to open it. No, you do not want to open it. Okay, if there are children in the room. So what do you find in this file, or apart from sexual stuff? Well, we have some criminal activities like hijacking, sensitive countries also like Russia, conspiracy theories like abducted by aliens, and also some words that you did not expect, like Moonraker. Yeah, what's Moonraker, right? In fact, it's a James Bond movie, right? What is it? Why is it there? So to dispel any doubt, I checked the list, and guess what? Believe it or not, this file contains about 12 titles of James Bond movies. It is true. So, more things. I have no idea why they do this. So in this process, we could get a grab of how this library works. We can be maybe reasonably confident that it runs on device with this whitelist, blacklist mechanism. Unfortunately, I couldn't run it standalone because there are some custom TensorFlow operators in them. And of course, it's available only in English, which is a pain. Because, you're back again. Or what do you want? You want to identify important stuff, and in French. Yes, because not even you want to reply quickly, but you also want to see quickly if messages that you have received are important, if they contain some request for action, if your sender expects something from you. So this is the field of what we call intent recognition. And now that after all these experiments, I can feel wings growing in my back, maybe we could just try to find the right model and Unfortunately, you won't find the right model because there are not so many awesome core ML models out there, and often they are in English. So if you don't know some data scientists to help you, the only option you are left with is maybe to try create ML. Like they say, it's very easy. So why not try to create a text classifier with create ML, telling me if some text contains a request for action. So let's try. Well, first thing to do is you have to find a training data set. I have chosen the Enron email data set, a list of sentences which are labeled as containing or not containing some intent. And my idea was that if you have a sentence in English which is a request for action, well, once you translate it in French, it will also be a request for action. So for this nice rainy afternoon, this was my schedule: sanitize a little data set, use some online translator to translate the dataset, watch the dub video because I had no prior experience to machine learning, show this stuff in CreateML, check options I'm not aware of, and train it. Okay, so instead of a tutorial, I made a kind of time lapse of this Sunday afternoon. If you have people sensitive to epilepsy, please close your eyes for some minutes. So are you ready? Yeah, here we go. So first I have to copy-paste everything from my Google Sheet inside my web translator. Copy-paste, copy-paste, copy-paste again. It is the most boring thing I have ever done. When you watch the video, you realize that you will have to do some scripting because they expect as many files as they have entries in your dataset. And you go to Stack Overflow, you suck at scripting, you script. It does not work. Then you have your files. You drag and drop them inside CreateML, yes. You press play, you check some options you don't know of. Then you try to understand what is the option. It computes. You see kittens, you compute again. And yeah, at the end of the day, you have your text classifier. Oh! What a pain. Don't see if you can see. It says, did you finish your slides for French Keyton? Yes, it does contain some intent. So to integrate it with Xcode, it's very easy. You just drag and drop your model inside Xcode, and it creates some code to query the model without effort. You can also integrate with the natural language tagger if you prefer to get your classes as natural language tags. And did it went well? Well, not that much. CreateML lets you create 3 different kinds of text classifiers, and they perform very badly. Like precision here is the ability not to generate too many false positives. So the performance is poor, but the models are very lightweight. So why not take them all together in your application and search for a consensus? If all 3 models agree that some text contains some request for action, they probably be right. And in this case, I get a precision of 88%, which for a front-end developer is not that bad. We could certainly improve accuracy by a better sanitization of the corpus, or by using nice tools like what they call dynamic embedding, that is new this year, but available only in English and Spanish. And also, something new this year in Core ML is the possibility to update your model on device depending on the feedback of the user. But unfortunately, you cannot use this for models created by text classifiers. So, to wrap up, I came up with this little Mendeleev classification, where vertically I added every superpower that machine learning can bring to your application, and horizontally different tasks that a user achieve using your application. And you can see that the different use cases that we have seen all matches with some some boxes of this table. And like for the Mendeleev classification, what we are left to do is to try to imagine what are in the empty boxes. For example, if you take intent recognition and writing, you could imagine, I don't know, maybe something that when you are typing some text and that you are speaking about photos, it could display automatically some share button. So we could call this an adaptive interface. Okay? So fill in the blanks, and this is your homework, and try to apply this grid to your application. Now, to conclude, I would like to quote Gustave Flaubert. Gustave Flaubert said that writers in their books should be present everywhere and visible nowhere. Well, I think that it should be the same for AI in mobile applications. We should show less, but do much more. All the building blocks are available to make the magic happen. This is up to you to do it. So get on with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll ask Hervé to join us, and Elaine, if you can join us right here. In my company, we have a joke.
Sorry?
We usually say that when it's in a PowerPoint, it's AI, and when it's on Python, it's machine learning. Thank you. It's really interesting to see like your vision of AI is like, okay, there are a lot of things that are happening. Usually we're asked to do amazing things. And leveraging existing iOS blocks to do that is really interesting and really pragmatic. So I like this way of seeing. And every new release, we see new intents on Siri, we see new features in the machine learning frameworks. Which new features do you think could come from the research world, and or which breaks would you like to see?
Well, I guess for iOS, the next necessary feature will be on-device translation, I think. Yes, I had the opportunity to ask people like Paul Hudson when it would come, and he's also very convinced that it would arrive sooner or later, maybe in 1 year or 2 years. They can't do differently. We need this.
Yeah.
And so we spoke much about iOS, but actually one issue we might have is that when I was talking about mobile apps, iOS just like the best 50% of the market, but of course, on the other hand, since you have lots of stuff which is on device, it's proprietary API. We have only that on iOS. How can we achieve ISO functional apps on the other side of the moon?
Very good question. If you're relying on first-party APIs, I think it's impossible because, well, it's just going to be working differently. Mm-hmm. So maybe this is why if you have, well, your app has an iOS app and you have your Android app, maybe you should look into maybe some third-party solutions that can basically do what you want, mm-hmm. have the same functionality, exactly the same functionality for those platforms.
And is TensorFlow like a viable option today?
Have you tried? No? You don't like? Okay. I know about it, I haven't tried, but yes, I was going to say yes, but maybe you say no, okay.
And let's say you train a model that is available on iOS and Android. Could you be able to train it like the same way on both platforms and reuse some part of the job? If you
using first-party solutions or
yeah,
third-party?
Yeah.
There's a very good question. I think I was even on a Coco Heads meetup where someone, I think it was you actually, who asked the question if you could use the TensorFlow model on a Core ML to reuse exactly the same model that could be used on Android. And I think there was no clear answer to that. Or it was really, really difficult. I don't remember. Yes, but it would be really nice.
I'm not interviewed, so I mean,
maybe it wasn't you. It was someone else. I don't
not sure.
remember.
I guess there is actually no easy answer to that. But,
Yes, there's no.
Anyway, it could be done until a certain extent. But anyway, actually, what else we can do to improve the UX experience, in your opinion?
Yes, it's an important thing. This year at DubDub, there was a great session about how to create nice machine learning experience. It was interesting because it was led by UX designers. Speaking of machine learning, it happens not that often. And the main idea was that what you have to care about is trust. You don't have to do a lot of hidden stuff under the hood, and you have to show where suggested values come from. If you have a metrics like some likelihood, some percentage, you have to provide them to the user, saying, well, you can do this, but I'm not sure it's the right solution. Right? And also take into account the feedback that users can bring to you if they have a possibility to say that, no, sorry, this was not right.
Yeah, one or 2 years ago, we had a talk from Matthew Hauser from a virtual company, and he was also explaining how they handled machine learning to detect parts of the car based on photos, and how they changed the UI to instead of just proposing one solution, they would propose a few, and this would improve a lot the use of the system, and like relying on the fact that you are not sure of the result, then you need to adapt the UX.
And on voice is especially hard because you have errors all the time, because all the tools are here, but they're not perfect. They're not perfect, and the recognition may not work. You may not have a reliable connection. So managing errors, as you say, voice designers, they always say in voice, in conversations, there are no errors. If you don't understand something that I'm saying, you're going to ask for some detail, or can you please re-explain? And you have to take all of this into account when you're designing those kind of interactions.
And how do you, how would you start to go further? I mean, to learn more, and actually, do we need to know more, or just we stop there and we are just stay a boring developer?
Yes. Well, I was a bit concerned because I have a medical certificate from my doctor saying that I cannot do Python, so I couldn't go very far.
Can I have the address of your doctor?
I will give it to you. So, but clearly this is the first thing that you will want to do, and don't do like me. I tried, of course, but I have
I saw you saw many cats photos where you were doing Python. So.
You can see. But I have free installs of Python of my macOS. I know I have issues that nobody on Stack Overflow ever had, so you should install it in a Docker. So the second thing you have to learn is Docker, and then there are great tools like to recreate, for example, which can help you develop models easily. Well, that's what they're saying.
Okay. Shall we move on?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for your both talks.
Thanks.
Thank you.